Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So you've probably seen the Sean Strickland video, the UFC middleweight champion, who had this back and forth with a Canadian reporter in the pre-fight press conference that's going on this Saturday. The first event in over 10 years that Bud Light will be the primary sponsor for the UFC. We'll see how that actually goes now that it's actually 2024. A lot of people were suggesting at the end of 2023 that Bud Light was co-sponsoring, Sean Strickland and others in their views. But technically, that wasn't happening until 2024 rolled over because that's when the official sponsor started. With that being said, I got this one from Outkick. Dan Batard, producer, demands ESPN condemn UFC champion Sean Strickland. Okay. Tell me you're woke without saying you're woke. UFC middleweight Sean Strickland angered a lot of people on Wednesday with his comments towards a Canadian reporter in the lead up to UFC 297. Predictably, the entire Dan Batard show cast was among those highly offended, and they want ESPN to take action. Which is pretty interesting, and I'm curious if there's going to be a conflict of interest considering Anheuser-Busch is the new sponsor, and ESPN puts on a lot of these fights. They have the weekly show, they have the Ultimate Fighter series, and they have exclusive non-pay-per-view UFC fights as well on ESPN+. So will this put ESPN and Anheuser-Busch or Bud Light at odds? I don't know. Now, the Batard group isn't personally offended, of course, rather they are offended on behalf of others. Much like the guy asking questions in that interview the other day with Sean Strickland. That's how you know they're morally superior humans. At least that's what they want you to believe, of course, right? The virtue signaling. As Outkick covered on Wednesday, Strickland blasted a Canadian reporter who drugged up past comments made by the UFC champion. Here's the abbreviated rundown of what happened. Guys, there is a video. There's a lot of cuss words. I don't know. I'm trying to stay in YouTube's good graces, and I also don't like airing a whole bunch of cuss words on the show. So I'm still trying to decide. I'll read through this, see how thorough it is, and if it's just not thorough enough, then I'll go ahead and I'll add that video at the end. So here's the abbreviated rundown of what happened from their previous story. Strickland, wearing a shirt that read, "A woman in every kitchen and a gun in every hand," did not hesitate to defend himself from the reporter's line of questioning. Now, I like that part about the gun in every hand. I don't know about the woman in every kitchen. It's 2024. As a homemaker type homesteader myself, I love cooking. I love being able to provide good meals for my wife and stuff like that. So, everybody can be in the kitchen as far as I'm concerned. Not to mention everybody should know how to cook just to survive, but I don't know. That's besides the point. We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city, the reporter started for some reason. Then, he proceeded to start reading Strickland's 2021 post before Strickland cut him off. "Oh, look," Strickland exclaimed. "Another reporter from the swamp." "Let me ask you something," the UFC champion said. "Are you a gay man?" "I am an ally of the community," the reporter responded, whatever that means. Strickland then asked if the reporter would be fine having a gay son, which he said he would be. And then the mixed martial artist reiterated his previous statement. "Well then, you're a weak effing man. Dude, you're part of the effing problem." And I agree. So as you might expect, the Batard show got very, very upset over this. As I wrote yesterday, I don't agree with everything Strickland said. There's a very important distinction between disagreeing with someone's opinion and disagreeing with their right to say it. Dan Batard's show producer Mike Reese doesn't want him to be able to say them ever again. And here's a tweet. "That is BS that we allow that. What are we doing? I challenge ESPN to make a public statement about this. Are you a chicken S? This is revolting." Mike Reese reacts to UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland's comments on the LGBT community. Simply put, he doesn't want his child to be gay because he personally looks forward to being a grandfather, which is something that everybody should have the right to. But there's a lot to unpack here. First, Reese invokes Donald Trump without saying his name, of course, because he's Voldemort in these circles, and basically admits that Trump spending time with UFC President Dana White bothers him. Why does it bother people? Why are people so obsessed with Trump? It's kind of super annoying. Folks like me who don't necessarily just drink the Trump Kool-Aid are forced to defend Trump just for the sake of truth and what's right. False accusations, lies, things that hurt our country that go towards Trump must be corrected, and that's where people like me come in and we have to defend the truth. Therefore, we defend Trump. But don't get me wrong, I do think Trump was the best president of my lifetime, and I look forward to him winning 2024 and getting this place back on the right track. That's where we're starting with this. The guy who literally gets triggered seeing the former president of the United States at a sporting event thinks we should listen to what he says. Yeah, exactly. First, he takes issue with Strickland's shirt. The shirt is clearly a joke, but people like those who work on the Dan Le Batard show, including Le Batard himself, want to police humor, right? I mean, comedians used to be the only ones that could say a lot of things, and now they can't even talk about culture, right? I have a great sense of humor, but that's not funny, said every unfunny person I've ever met. Well, I mean, a lot of people in the world agree with his commentary. It's not that they're listening to him and they're taking Strickland's lead. It's that he's saying what they already believe, much like what Trump did when he was president and running. And it was nice to see somebody with a platform bigger than them actually agreeing with him and taking the same stance that they actually share. Second, he complains that Sean Strickland has a platform because he's the best middleweight MMA fighter on planet Earth. And that's true. He just beat the crap out of Israel Adesanya, right? He's doing a press conference ahead of a major UFC event where he's headlining. Also, he's a fighter trying to drum up interest in a fight. This is part of how the game works, and that's very true. I'm not saying that that's what Sean Strickland is doing, but people say a lot of stuff that they don't actually mean just to get in your opponent's head, to drive the eyeballs to the event, right? If anything, the outrage from the Le Batard crew only furthers the idea that Strickland did his job on Wednesday. 100% I agree with that. The Dan Le Batard show previously aired on ESPN. The network eventually got rid of him because his righteous left-wing political talk didn't sit well with sports fans. But here he is, demanding that ESPN take a stance against Strickland. What a surprise, huh? A bunch of left-wing elites sitting in their high moral horse all day talking down on the deplorable average American citizen doesn't generate a lot of interest among Americans. Weird, right? Yeah, of course. I asked Jimmy Pitaro, what gonads are you going to show me? Talk of having gonads, Michael Reese, a relative nobody in the media space, demands that the president of ESPN needs to prove something to him, sensing a pattern among the elites. UFC 297 airs on ESPN Plus on Saturday night, which is why Reese wants Pitaro to step in and make a public statement about Strickland. At the very least, condemn it, Reese emphatically closes. And that's hilarious because if ESPN comes out and takes a stance, that might force Anheuser-Busch to either agree or disagree, and that's something that they don't want to do. They've remained quiet ever since Dylan Mulvaney backlash started. So if that's the very least, what does Reese actually want from ESPN and the UFC to do? Perhaps cancel Sean Strickland over his words? That's not going to happen. Dan Le Batard is fond of saying cancel culture doesn't exist, yet here we are again. Yeah, typical woke lefty, right? His producer goes on a rant about silencing Sean Strickland for speech he doesn't like. And not only did that air on his show, but was proudly sent out on social media. I can't stand Dan Le Batard, Mike Ryan, or anyone associated with that show, with the exception of Stugotz, who I'm very much enjoyed working with at ESPN. But you'll never hear me say that they shouldn't have a show. In fact, I love that their show exists. It gives viewers a great glimpse into how those people think. That's important. I don't want them to stop talking. Keep telling us who you are. And I 100% agree with that. And that's why people should not be canceled or removed from social media and things like that, because we need their bad ideas to be out in the open so that free speech, free conversation can actually weed out bad ideas and good ideas can rise to the top. But whenever you cancel somebody, they then find a circle who reaffirms their bad ideas, which then makes these people feel even more righteous. So you know what? I decided I'm going to go ahead and show the Sean Strickland interview. There's a lot of cuss words, but we're all adults here, so I'm sure you can handle it. And let's just go ahead and play it.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying to you, the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and some would say...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Have you had the chance to interact with a more diverse...
Are you... Let me know, are you gay?
Could I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking, this is the part of, are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh, man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh, man, well, dude, you're a weak fucking man, dude. You're part of the fucking problem. You elected Justin Trudeau. Like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just fucking pathetic. And the fact that you have no fucking backbone And has he shut down your fucking country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid shit like that, go fuck yourself. Move.
And he's talking about seizing bank accounts. That happened in the wake of the trucker protest.
Move the fuck on, man.
I feel like that doesn't really answer the question, but I did want to ask also things you said about the trans community. You said this past October when they announced the Bud Light sponsorship that you'd go so hard on Bud Light in your next fight, they'll have to accept me or denounce me when they know what and will know what they stand for. Are you
This guy's like, nah, this Canadian's not that Canadian.
Are you still going to use your fight time to kind of speak on that?
Here's the thing about Bud Light. 10 years ago, to be trans was a mental fucking illness. And now all of a sudden, people like you have fucking weaseled your way into the world. You are an infection. You are the definition of weakness. Everything that is wrong with the world is because of fucking you. And the best thing is the world's not buying it. The world's not buying your fucking bullshit you're fucking peddling. The world is not saying, you know what? You're right. Fucking chicks have dicks. The world's not saying that. The world's saying, no, there are two genders. I don't want my kids being taught about, who they could fuck in school. I don't want my kids being taught about, their sexual preference. Like, dude, this guy is the fucking enemy. You want to look at the fucking enemy to our world? It's that motherfucker right there.
And I'm going to have to agree with most of the stuff he said there. I'll have to correct one thing. It's 10 years ago, being trans or gender dysphoric was considered a mental disorder, and it still is actually classified as a mental disorder. He didn't say anything bad right there, really. He presented his position that he preferred to be a grandfather. He pointed out the fact that being gender dysphoric is a mental disorder, and he also pointed out the fact that, these woke allies aren't smart enough or wise enough or don't care enough to actually correct people when they're wrong. And that's one of the problems with the world today is folks that know better are too afraid to correct somebody when they're going down the wrong path for fear of being labeled an ist or a phobe or being canceled on social media or whatever. But now the X has become the new platform, formerly known as Twitter. Twitter is the old guard where people got canceled. X is the new guard where free speech lives. And Elon Musk has proved that by bringing back Donald Trump, bringing back Alex Jones, bringing back a lot of the canceled, banned accounts from the Twitter era. And I'll also add that I'm looking forward to seeing these fights on Saturday. I hope that Sean Strickland wins so that he can stay in the spotlight and we can really watch him put Bud Light to the test with their sponsorship, Dana White to the test with, his fear of protecting his main sponsor, that money. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I'm going to have to agree with him for most of that stuff there that he said.